Kdaj si ti menstro dobila, Klara?
Pri 13.
Kaj pa ti?
Jaz se še nimam. Pa veš, da te nekaj privlači?
Kar začutiš, ne? Tako malo ti je toplo, razpodi, pa malo te ščini. Dober je. In se tako greh. Če človek nekaj zagreši, mora potem pojesti nekaj kislega grozdja in se s tem spokori.
Hello, Lev. First of all, congratulations on your work in Little Trouble Girls, the first feature by Urška Djukić. You are the director of photography, the man behind the camera. How are you doing today, sir?
Hi. Well, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. Let's talk a little bit about your film. I mean, a film which is getting some real attention internationally, right? The film premiered in Berlin and was Slovenia's submission for the 2026 International Oscar. It tells the story of Lucia, a 16-year-old girl studying at a Catholic school where she sings in an all-girl choir. She's had a pretty strict upbringing, and maybe because of that she's quite shy and withdraw. But after becoming friends with Ana Maria, she starts to change in more than one way, right? Let's start with the challenge of filming in a distinctive way one of the most common story types, the sexual awakening story, right? The coming of age. When the challenge was initially put forward, was the opportunity to visually innovate within this subgenre important to you?
I don't. It's funny. I don't think I ever thought while making this film. I never thought we were making like a very classic coming of age story, even though it's completely true. But I think we realized that only after the film was made somehow. We always thought about it as as just as the story as it is, as the characters, as the situations. So we kind of didn't think about how does this genre, how is this genre portrayed usually in cinema or anything like that. We more thought what would be the right ways for telling this particular story, and of course in connection with who Urška is as a director, her style, and of course my style, and everybody, all the other collaborators on the project. So there was never a thought, I think, we need to do something different. This is not, I think, the way any of us kind of work. We have a story. We have to find the best way to tell the story that we have.
Well, and the visual grammar lives a lot through faces, but also through the body parts. It's common that we see only an ear or an arm or a neck. What was the intention behind this choice? Because it is something that is consistent throughout the film.
Because we wanted to, show the world through our main character's eyes. So with the way she kind of sees it, that was always our main goal. So to kind of make the audience live the world through the character, through the main character. So this was one of our ways to kind of emphasize the way she perceives the world. So it's very closely connected with the sound, so it's her ear, and then all these specific little sounds that she sees, or some body parts, something that she notices, like the man's arm, let's say. And it was also a way to kind of really get close and really get intimate. So kind of convey this intimacy onto the audience, I think.
Very well. She is a very quiet girl, and when she focuses on something, she freezes and looks at the thing, and it completely the outside world is gone. She is focused, right?
Yeah. It's
and the
almost,
photography explains that.
yes, it's almost like, the world to her at her age is very overwhelming in some ways, especially, of course, in this sexual awakening way. So, these little things kind of, catch her eye or come, like little sounds, hit her ear, and that's kind of takes over her all of her senses and kind of isolates her into this, almost out of worldly little, experience.
Very well. Let's talk a little bit about the religious context of the film, because filming any kind of religious art requires, to me, a certain restraint, because I believe that wherever you point the camera, you can evoke something powerful or intriguing, because those images are like that, are intriguing. What is your relationship with the Sacred Heart, and what role does the religious context play in the film and in the mind's character?
I will start with the second part of your question first, because I think, first of all, I think Urška wrote this film in the religious context that also she was raised in, because obviously Slovenia is predominantly Catholic. Many people are raised that way, even if they're not, let's say, later actively religious. But this is something, first of all, that Urška knows best. So it's usually the case that you write about something that very well. It's hard to write about some cultural context that you don't belong to. I think,
and mainly for a first feature, we tend to gravitate towards what we know, right?
Yes. Also, the second thing is that in this film, it's this Catholic context is not only shown in one way. So it is on the one hand shown as this conservative, restrictive, family which Lucia belongs to. But then on the other hand, it's also shown as this ancient spiritual, something higher than just the human. So she's kind of, and all of this is kind of enclosed in this Catholic context. There is no other sort of religion in this film. There's no, let's say, on one hand paganism, and on the other hand Christianity. It's all within this one basically Christian Catholic context. So you have this priest who is very conservative, these parents, but then on the other hand you have these nuns who sing, who are very spiritual, who kind of help her also on this path of awakening. So I think it's it's something that we used to kind of tell the whole spectrum of what it can be for people, what it is for Lucia. She can find, it can be for her difficult, but also within it she can find some solace or some help. So I think it's a very, it shows also the complexity of religion within a society and for us humans. And for me personally, I'm not religious. I've not, I wasn't raised religious. And I have a very mixed, family, mixed heritage. So part of my family is Catholic, part of my family is Jewish. So it's like I'm basically I'm an agnostic. And to me, I mean, as such, I kind of looked at all of these things through a very, let's say, humanistic perspective. Absolutely not judging anything, absolutely not, being in any way, or trying in any way to bring any sort of my own, beliefs or context.
You are not enchanted by the work, the artwork.
Yes, but also I am a spiritual person, so I do believe that humans in general, we are very spiritual. It is part of our, the metaphysical is something that has always been present. So it's and it's also, a very strong part of me. I just don't kind of subscribe to any, organized system that somebody is trying to impose on me. I more believe that we should all explore our own, spirituality and our own, kind of find God in our own ways. That's what I believe, actually.
And did that spirituality affect the the choices that were made in some way?
I think because I am spiritual, I think it's possible for me to empathize, also with other types of spirituality, let's say. So even if it's not my personal belief, I can empathize with what Lucia is going through. So I kind of try to look at, when I work, I try to look at, the characters, the scripts, always through this, almost trying to kind of completely understand who they are and what they're, going through. So then I can kind of try and find the right tools, the right ways to tell the story. So obviously, yes, I mean, it did influence the way it's shot, because, Urška and me, we kind of decided on that. So it's through our own, experiences and lives and personalities, we kind of decided what we should shoot and how we should shoot it and what we shouldn't, So yes.
Very well. Let's talk a little bit more about your beliefs, because you've mentioned in a previous interview that one of the hallmarks of a great cinematographer is being invisible to the audience. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Of course. For me, I really think that our work is, the best when, let's say an average cinema viewer, an average person in the audience, after the movie, comes out of the movie and out of the cinema and says, "Oh, what a great film," So, or what a moving film, or whatever, what a bad film, doesn't matter. But it's all of these things are better than when an audience member comes out of the theater and says, "Oh, what great music," or "Oh, what great photography," because I believe that everybody that works on a movie should be working towards the movie being, a complete whole, indivisible work of art, where none of the elements is so strong that kind of overshadows the other elements. And I think that's the biggest, achievement that one can, for me, cinematographers, we're not trying to make the audience aware of a beautiful image. We're trying to make them feel something when they see the image. So if they think about the image, they're not feeling what we want them to feel,
Mm-hmm.
So
I get it.
I get
what you are saying. Yeah.
I don't want the people to be like, "Oh, we're watching a movie." I want the people to be, "Oh, we're experiencing something,"
Yeah. So you don't agree with showing off because it can be distractful, right?
Yes, I don't. Yes, absolutely. I like always to have a reason why I put the camera where I put it, or how I shoot, if it's handheld, if it's dolly, if it's static. It has to have a reason why. It has to be connected with the, with the film,
the story, right?
Yeah.
It should be connected and not, disconnected. Just
It's
because it feels right, or it is because it's beautiful.
But it can feel right, It can, if it feels right, it's good. But it cannot.
Did you have a lot of discussions with Urška about it? You say it feels right, but she's saying, maybe not.
That's a very interesting point you're making, because I've had experiences where a director would be like, put the camera here, I want this lens, blah, 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 blah. And I would put the camera and put the lens, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And the director is like, I don't know, it feels okay to me. And then I'm like, okay, but let me just change the lens. And I change the lens, and then he says, "Oh yes, I understand completely now. This is much better." Or the other way, So
that's the power of the cinematographer right there.
But
the work with the director on those micro choices that will impact the overall work, right?
But it also happens in the other way around,
Of course,
sometimes I put a lens, I'm like, "Oh, this feels great," and then the director goes, "Oh no, something is wrong here," and then you try, and you're like, "Oh wow, you're right, absolutely, my bad, I didn't see it." So
it's a collaborative process. So
exactly, yeah. But with Urška, because you asked me about how it was with Urška, the thing is that I was present, for 6 months before the shooting. I was present at all the rehearsals with the actors. So I was there always with a small, like camera, but she was not talking to me at all. I was just shooting in my own way, looking for something. It was not about shooting the rehearsal so we could see everything. That was not the point. The point
was not a behind the scene recording.
No, or like a casting recording. No, it was looking for some interesting angles, for some interesting, perspectives, for, how close we should be, how far away we should be, what lens we should use. And then we would watch these rehearsals and we would, discuss this and see, oh, this works, this doesn't work, this is better, this is not. And through that, we kind of developed this, sort of the way the film is shot, or part of it. And because we were involved so much earlier, and we kind of collaborated so tightly through this whole, time before the shoot, we really, really had a good, really good working, relationship, really good connection. And then, when someone said, oh, this doesn't feel right, it was always like, oh, tell me, I want, it was always like, or I agree. So it was so many times, it was like, shot is over, Urška says cut, we look at each other, and we're like, this works. Or the other way around, oh, something is not right, So the more you're connected with the director, the better it is, the more you're kind of able to communicate without words, or really intuitively know what somebody is looking for. And I think it's extremely important for the director of photography to really, really feel the director, to really understand what the director wants. Because then also, if I suggest something, if I say, oh, I have an idea about this and this, my suggestion will be so much more precise and so much more on point than just, spitting out some ideas which are completely off topic or completely disconnected from the story and the director's intentions. So, yeah.
Very well. Very well. Lev, let's wrap up with a chance to dig a little bit deeper into Slovenian cinema. Which local films have really made an impression on you lately? And are there any visual artists coming out of Slovenia that we should have on our radar?
So for films, there's a couple of really interesting, or a few really interesting, I think, young or medium generation artists that are doing some really amazing work.
I have my pencil right here.
Okay. Apart from Urška Djukić, of course, whom I adore, and I really love working with her, and I think she's extremely talented. I think there is one Slovenian director called Sara Kern. She lives in Australia, but she also, I worked with her, and I think she's amazing. There's this one young director, cinematographer, who's called Gregor Božič. He's done amazing work. He shot a documentary that got the European Film Award this year. There is an amazing animation artist called Špela Čadež. She's also wonderful. She's also the member of the American Academy of Motion Pictures. There is Rok Biček. He's also a great director. There's probably more. These are the people that I remember now, but from the film world, these are definitely people that we should be watching closely. From the visual arts, I really like the work of Maja Smrekar. She's like a contemporary multidisciplinary artist. She's also quite well known abroad, I think, and she does some amazing work. There's other people for sure.
Of course. And some films, one or two films that had an impact on you lately.
So I think because I mentioned Gregor Božič, his one of the films he shot was The Man Who Wasn't There. They also got Best Short in Cannes, I think last year or 2 years ago. And then not The Man Who Wasn't There, I'm sorry. The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Probably you've heard of it. And then Fiume o Morte. This is a documentary film that he was a cinematographer of. It's also great. What was a newer or something that was really interesting? I missed some of the newer films, honestly, because I was working last year. I wasn't in the festival, and I haven't seen everything. And then there's some older films that are really amazing, you know. I mean, there is this documentary, The Family by Rok Biček. It's an amazing documentary, I think. Also another great director, Slovenian director, Matjaž Ivanišin. He's also doing mostly documentary stuff, but really, really amazing. Kar Popotnik is one of his films, which is great. There is also, I mean, I think we live now in a time when I would recommend one film, a really, really old film. It's called The Valley of Peace. It's by this one of our most prolific and most famous directors, Frances Stiglitz. And this is a film from 1956. And this film is, for me, I think it's, especially nowadays, you know, it's a film, you know, filmed very soon after the Second World War. It's a wartime film. It's a film, you know, that kind of has this Second World War context. But the most beautiful thing about it is that the main characters of this film are two kids, one boy and one girl, and the boy is Slovenian and the girl is German. And they meet in an orphanage, and they escape from this orphanage, and they say, we want to, you know, we have enough of this war, we want to find the Valley of Peace. And the whole movie is like a road movie, and they travel and they look, you know, they're looking for this Valley of Peace, and they both have this memory of, oh yes, my uncle lives in this place, and there is no war there. We should find this place. So of course they go. They have a lot of, you know, a lot of things happen to them, and then at some point they meet a paratrooper, an American, you know, American paratrooper, and he kind of also helps them to get through, you know, this landscape with, you know, the Nazis and all that. And also the partisans, but then in the end, you know, he gets killed. They have a shootout. They're like, you know, they escape, and the movie ends. I'm going to spoil it, but it's so beautiful. The movie ends with them, you know, on top of a mountain, looking at this beautiful valley in front of them, and they say, "Oh, we haven't found this Valley of Peace, but it has to be somewhere, and we have to search on." And that's how the movie. It's you know, and it's so good because this is not, you know, it's not one of those propaganda movies that it's like, oh, you know, one side is great, the other side is shit or whatever, but it's just about, you know, innocent people looking for peace, you know, and it's really nice. And also the actor that plays the American paratrooper, his name is John Kitzmiller, and he got an award in Cannes for best performance. And I think this is actually one of the first, or if not even the first, major festival award for an African-American actor. So that's also really good thing about this. So yeah.
I didn't know the film, so I guess I have plans for this weekend. Thank you very much, Lev. Well, I have one final question because I could not resist to ask, which is, what makes a great image?
Philosophical question, huh?
To end it on a beautiful note.
I think every great image, you know, invokes some sort of emotion in a person. I think that is, you know, that is the most power that an image has, is to kind of, you know, bring out emotions in people.
Very well. Lev, thank you so much for your time. I hope the film does really well. Little Trouble Girls is now in cinemas, and I need you to find it in the cinemas where it should be watched, because I think it's a beautiful piece of work, and you will meet a reality that you can easily empathize, and the images are part of a whole that should be experienced. So, Lev, thank you again, and see you at the movies, man.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone enjoys it.